This is Jordan from AutoAid here with another video. Today we're going to be looking at a 2014 Hyundai Elantra. The complaint on this vehicle is it lacks power. So this vehicle is a 2014 Hyundai Elantra. Customer complaint: the vehicle is low on power and has a misfire. We're going to first road test to confirm this, and then check for codes. After taking the vehicle on a road test, we confirmed that the vehicle lacks power, but we did not feel a misfire. While I was driving this thing, a knocking sound could be heard at wide open throttle, and I found that the vehicle would not accelerate past 2,000 RPM. So we scanned the vehicle and we found no codes. We wasn't really sure if we would find any codes. I didn't really feel a misfire. I was kind of wondering if we had like a fuel pressure issue and may have codes for that, but doesn't look like we had any codes here. So with no codes found, we decided to take the vehicle on another road test. This time we're going to monitor data. First, we decided to check fuel pressure, like I mentioned just a few moments ago. While driving here, you can see the fuel pressure, the set point or the commanded fuel pressure is 4 megapascals, and the actual rail pressure is 3.9, so pretty close to the desired. So I believe everything's okay with the fuel system there. It's asking for a specific amount and it's getting it. Now after looking at the misfire counters as well, didn't see any misfires, didn't feel anything, didn't think I'd find anything on the misfire counters, but figured we'd have a look just in case. So as I just mentioned, fuel pressure matches desired and no misfires are found. Next, we decide to monitor fuel trims and misfires again under wide open throttle acceleration. So we can see a couple things here. The first thing that I noticed right off the bat is the lambda value. So this vehicle has an air-fuel ratio sensor upstream and an O2 sensor downstream. Air-fuel ratio sensor uses lambda, and a lambda reading of 1 is 0% fuel trim. So anything more is positive fuel trim or adding fuel. Anything less is negative fuel trim or pulling fuel away. So just looking back at our vehicle again, you can see the lambda value is 0.767. Lambda reading of 0.767 indicates a minus 23.3% fuel trim correction. So this vehicle thinks the engine is running very rich, and the vehicle is almost at its max of how much fuel it can pull away. 25% is usually around the max that most vehicles can pull away. So to make this data easier to read, we also scanned the same data on OBD2 generic. So this is what most people are used to. Short and long-term fuel trim shown as a percent. Short-term fuel trim kind of confirms what our lambda reading was showing. It looks like here I got the vehicle just above 3,000 RPM, but it was sitting there and it wouldn't go any higher than 3,400. And you can see that the APP is at about 80%, and the short-term fuel trim is sitting at minus 25. So it is pulling fuel away like crazy on this vehicle. So as I just mentioned, short-term fuel trim matches what our lambda reading told us earlier, and long-term is also showing a rich condition. And that'll likely continue to go into the negative if we continue to drive this vehicle currently the way it is. So if we keep driving it messed up like this, long-term should also continue to go negative. So this vehicle thinks it's running very rich, it's pulling away as much fuel as it can, yet we hear a knocking sound under heavy acceleration. Kind of like you'd hear on an engine that's running extremely lean. So one question we're going to ask is the vehicle actually running rich, or is there another issue causing the vehicle to think it's running rich? In my opinion, it's likely option number 2. And so now we got to think of what could cause something like this to happen. In our experience, we have found that these are telltale symptoms of a plugged catalytic converter, and I'll explain that here in a moment. If there is a restriction in the exhaust, you'll have a buildup of exhaust gas that cannot be expelled. The vehicle sees this as a rich condition and pulls fuel away. So if you have a restriction in the catalytic converter, you're going to have a bunch of exhaust gas building up upstream on that airflow ratio sensor, and it's going to think that the vehicle is running rich. It's going to see an abundance of exhaust gas, sorry, I should say it's going to see a lack of oxygen. That's really what an airflow ratio sensor and an oxygen sensor do, is they measure the oxygen in the exhaust, and if there's a lack of oxygen, then it's going to read as being very rich. So in this case, we have an exhaust restriction, or we think we have an exhaust restriction. There's going to be a buildup of exhaust gas, less oxygen there, and the vehicle is going to think it's running rich. So the vehicle sees this as a rich condition and pulls fuel away. So the engine is not actually running rich and then starts to knock due to an overly lean fuel mixture at wide open throttle. So this is easy to confirm on a mass airflow vehicle. Mass airflow and other data can be input into one of many volumetric efficiency calculators to calculate how well an engine is breathing or flowing air. So if you think of an engine as just a big air pump, that's pretty much all it is. So it needs to have good ability to flow air, so a non-restricted intake, non-restricted exhaust. So here is an example from a previous mass airflow vehicle we diagnosed with a plugged catalytic converter. All right, so just looking back at my notes here from this previous vehicle that we did a volumetric efficiency test on, it was a 2001 Chevy Astro with a 4.3 liter. Just looking at the notes here from the data we gathered, the intake air temperature sensor was about 77 degrees. Our wide open throttle acceleration test, we managed to get about 3,600 RPM, and the mass airflow reading was about 105 grams per second. And the engine size is 4.3 liter. You can see we have a volumetric efficiency of 68. Generally, the spec I've been told is anything 90 and higher is a good breathing engine. Less than that, you've got some sort of restriction. So on this vehicle, the Chevy Astro, we had a severely plugged cat, and that shows here in our volumetric efficiency test. So that's pretty easy on a mass airflow vehicle. Now, unfortunately, this Hyundai uses a MAP sensor. So a simple VE test is not possible on this vehicle, and physical inspection of the catalytic converter is required. We suspect that the cat is plugged on this thing, so really the only way to confirm is to actually pull it apart and have a look at it. Luckily on this vehicle, it was rather easy. They just put a flex pipe in it, so everything was kind of already loose, and we weren't going to deal with any rust or anything like that. Guys in the Rust Belt will know what I'm talking about. Up here where we are in Canada, the road salt really messes with these vehicles, and it just completely deteriorates exhaust bolts and stuff. It makes it very, very difficult for us to gain access, but on this vehicle, it was relatively easy. So we pulled the pipe down, and we're able to get our camera in there to have a look at the honeycomb or the catalytic converter material, the catalyst material, whatever you want to call it, inside the cat. And you can see here that it's very, very plugged up. It's kind of hard to tell in the picture, but right around here, there's a large divot or a large chunk missing. And there's also a bunch of material sitting down here on the bottom of the pipe, and all these little black dots and silver dots up here. These are all plugged honeycombs. So this catalytic converter was severely plugged on this vehicle. So as just mentioned, after unbolting the catalytic converter, we have a good look at the material inside. There's a large area of material that was missing, that area that I showed you guys there with the cursor, and much of the converter was plugged. So in the end, with this vehicle, when we dropped that pipe, I took it on another road test. The vehicle ran absolutely fine. Got up to about 6,000 RPM, ran great. It was a little noisy, but other than that, it ran very, very well. So this one was called for a plug catalytic converter. They replaced it, and all was well.
If you like this video, please let us know by following us or liking us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you want access to more in-depth training videos, please visit our website at www.autoaid.ca. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.